All right, in this video we're going to be covering our shoulder external rotation PAILs and rails. This is going to be done in our half kneeling position using a TRX or any suspension trainer. You can even use some gymnastic rings as well. So the goal of this one is to work on strengthening, expanding range of motion for shoulder external rotation. So for this setup, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start off in the half kneel position. And so if I'm working, let's say on my left shoulder, I'm going to have that left side down and I'm going to have my right side leg up. Then we're going to set up here so that we're going to start off with about a 90-degree bend at that elbow joint. So again, 90 degrees there. And then I'm going to have my wrist directly over. And then to currently find my passive range of motion of shoulder external rotation, I'm going to just start to walk my body forward and slightly lean my weight forward as well. And that's going to allow me to get into that passive external. What I'm going to make sure is when I'm finding my current range of motion, I'm not flaring the ribs, I'm not overextending at the spine, because this will make it look like I'm getting more, but really we're just creating motion from the spine there. So we want to really think about keeping that pelvic tilt here, ribs down, prevent them from flaring. That's why I like to keep that free hand here on the ribs. It'll be a nice cue for you to know if you're actually flaring the ribs and overextending that spine. Now, once I find my passive range, I'm going to hang out here for 60 seconds to upwards of 2 minutes, so whatever the prescribed duration of our passive stretch is. After our passive stretch, we're going to then start by generating our full body tension to the desired effort. Once I do that, I'm going to start my PAILs and rails. So the PAILs contraction, I'm going to try and internally rotate my shoulder. So because there's no slack being given here, I'm trying to rotate this way, and I'm creating that action. I'm going to feel a lot of that tension here through that shoulder joint. You can see there's no movement happening, which is what we want, but we're going to be generating a high amount of tension here. After 10 seconds of that PAILs effort, we then go into a rails. Now that rails contraction, I'm trying to increase and add more external. So I'm going to actively just try to externally rotate that shoulder back, making sure that I'm not just extending that wrist. I'm not just flaring my ribs as well. I'm creating that action from that shoulder joint itself. You can notice that it might create some slack in our TRX as well. Then I relax. I'll shift forward to get into that new range of motion and keep myself in that passive stretch for the duration of a rest period, about 10 to 20 seconds, before I perform another round of PAILs and rails or whatever is prescribed for you. So once again, 90 degrees. We find our current passive range. Stay in this passive stretch here for 60 seconds to upwards of 2 minutes. Then generates a full body tension. Start by creating that PAILs contraction, going into internal rotation. 10 seconds rails, going into external rotation. Relax that tension, back into that new range of motion, hang out for about 10-20, and then repeat as necessary.